What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Stephen Ramon, and welcome to the Unscripted Runsheet podcast. We got a great episode for you today. Today, we are going to be talking about the recent rash of releases from the WWE here on November 4th, 2021. Now, a lot of you already know there's been a whole lot of articles that have came out. A lot of different rumors, speculation, things of that nature. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. We're going to break down some of the big names that were released, and we're just going to have a nice little dialogue about this. So let's jump right into it. So as we all know, on November 4th, WWE released 18, that's right, 18 different superstars from their WWE contracts. If I'm not mistaken, that brings our talent count released to 71, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe that's, wait a minute, I can tell you right about, I believe it's 71, yeah, between last year and this year alone, over 71 different performers, superstars, wrestlers, whatever you want to call them, have been released from their WWE contracts. But in typical fashion, more surprises. I think the last big round of releases that we got, the main surprise in that one was Bray Wyatt, and for obvious reasons. But in this one, we got a few more big surprises. So let's just run down the list. From Monday Night Raw, you had Eva Marie, Grand Metalik, Keith Lee, Karrion Kross, Lindsay Dorado. From SmackDown, you had B-Fab, Mia Yim. From NXT, you had Ember Moon, Frankie Monet, Katrina Cortez, Owie Lorcan, Jesse Camilla, Jeet Rama, Sade Ramir. If I butchered that, I'm so sorry. Scarlett, Trey Baxter, and you also had Harry Smith, aka Davey Boy Smith Jr. Now, there's been a lot of different speculation as to why it's been so many different budget cuts behind all these releases. Personally, I really don't know what to make of it. Besides the fact that on one hand, it's kind of mind-boggling that we have batches of release after release after release, but yet the WWE cannot seem to give us new, fresh, exciting, innovative matches that we want. You know, we get rematch after rematch after rematch, but yet they are releasing all of these superstars. You know, think about the match opportunities from all of the releases that we've had. Think about the match opportunities that we've lost. We've lost a lot of big, high-profile matches, or possibly matches. We've definitely lost a lot of future superstars. You know, just running off the top of my head, we got Buddy Murphy. That was one of them. Best kept secret. Now he's with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Obviously, Bray Wyatt. Obviously, Braun Strowman. Just going up this recent list, Karrion Kross. So, you know what? Yeah, let's just hop right into this analysis and breakdown. So, off this recent list of releases, a name that, I hate to say this, I really do, because it's going to sound like I'm being cold-hearted, and I'm not trying to be cold-hearted. I'm just being an honest as a wrestling fan. Eva Marie, okay? I honestly do not know why Eva Marie was even brought back in the first place. That's first and foremost. You bring her back, obviously she has not improved in the ring at all. But you bring her back and then you literally have her outlast the likes of the Iconics. Ruby Soho, aka Ruby Riott. You also have her outlast Mickie James, who's a bona fide legend. You release them and keep her. And here's the truth. Eva Marie's trash. As far as an in-ring competitor goes, she is absolute trash. Now, when I make these analysis, I'm not trying to rag on the performers as individuals, as actual, regular people, but more so, I'm critiquing their level of performance in the profession in which they've chosen to perform in. Okay? Prime example, I have 16 years in the food service industry, right? During that time, I've had a lot of different critiques. Most of those critiques, well, all of those critiques were normally related to my job in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Some of those critiques came from people who were close to me. Some of them came from complete strangers. Either which way it goes, I personally cannot choose to be mad about a critique that happened in a professional setting, okay? Because if I earned it, I earned it. Sometimes they were fair, sometimes they weren't. Critiques are subjective. So, with that being said, as we continue down this journey, let's just keep in mind that these are all subjective critiques that I'm getting ready to make about the majority of superstars on this list, and I'm going in order. So, back to Eva Marie. Eva Marie is trash. As an in-ring competitor, she is absolute trash. Okay, she has no ability to sell. It's not often that you see a performer with no type of athleticism. Eva Marie is that performer. I mean, hands down. Anybody that would like to tell me that Eva Marie deserved to be in the WWE, I think you should go get a drug test. Plain and simple. Sorry. I know she has aspirations for acting. I know she is a model. Speaking of acting, there's also been a few reports that have came out that said one of the reasons why she was released was because after she decided to take some time off TV, she decided to pursue acting. And there was a tweet that came out a while ago prior to her release about her working on a project that she was really excited about. So, is WWE releasing people because they are pursuing other ambitions? If that's the case, I'm going to be 100% honest, it's a little jaded, because you can't release one talent for deciding to pursue extracurricular activities for their career outside of WWE, because there's been a whole plethora of current and past talent that has done that. For current talent, one that comes to mind is Alexa Bliss, who has publicly made it known that she wants to pursue an acting career as an actress at one point in time. She's talked about how she is taking acting lessons and even how she used what she learned in those lessons to portray in the Alexa Bliss Lily character. But then you also have people like The Miz. The WWE just did a whole movie with Netflix. I forget the name of it. They literally just did a movie with Netflix earlier this year with The Miz, Keith Lee, Mia Yim, and a whole roster or a whole slew of WWE talent in that movie. You have people like John Cena, The Rock, Roman Reigns has made a movie. So releasing somebody for deciding to look into a different endeavor, that's a little bit foul. I honestly doubt if that report is accurate. I think the main reason was Eva Marie was just a waste of a contract. Next up, you got Grand Metalik. Well, Grand Metalik and Lindsay Dorado, I'll just go ahead and group them together as the Lucha House Party. And I believe it was Grand Metalik that made a statement on Twitter following his release. And in his statement, he was saying, "Thank you for granting me my release." It's no surprise about Lucha House Party. There were several articles that came out from Ringside News Fightful Select, just to name a few sources that had mentioned that Lucha House Party was very, very dissatisfied with their current position in the company, and rightfully so. But at the same time, that's not really on Lucha House Party. And here's why I say that. In my humble opinion, WWE does not care about tag team division at all. NXT has the best tag team division in WWE. And here's why I say that. The WWE has not cared about the tag team division since, I would say, the Attitude Era, possibly Ruthless Aggression Era. But in the recent years, that's been evident, okay? In the recent years that I can think of, the mainstay tag teams that we have had have been the Usos, the New Day, the Bar, which was Sheamus and Cesaro. Now you have the addition of the Street Profits, but even that's questionable because we all saw the articles and reports about the Street Profits were being looked at to be split up. WWE has this pattern where they put tag teams together and then split them for no apparent reason. Or they'll just throw two random people together in the tag team and then do absolutely nothing with them at all. We're seeing this with the Dirty Dogs. They have had one tag team title run. One, if I'm not mistaken. The Alpha Academy. Now you have the team of Humberto and Angel, which was completely stupid the way they did that. But that's a whole nother topic for another day. So with Lucha House Party as being an authentic tag team, it kind of left them in a situation where you can't really split them up because they're not going to thrive well. 205 Live is dead. The Cruiserweight division in WWE is dead. As far as I'm concerned, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person that feels this way, that division is dead. So they're not going to do good there, okay? As we can kind of see, at least as far as what I'm feeling, Vince McMahon is trending a little bit, I'm not going to say backwards, but it looks like he is circling back to some of his previous mindset about professional wrestling. And that mindset being that professional wrestling is a big man sport or a sport for giants. So with that being said, what are you going to do when, let's say, the Raw on Grand Metal League, when you have a whole roster full of just guys over 6'5" or guys 6'2" and up? Nothing. You can't really find a place to put them at. So that's why they got stuck in purgatory and they got released. I'm pretty sure that once their 90-day compete clause is up, they are definitely going to find work in more than likely AAA, which seems to be a very good promotion. I don't really see them as a fit for AEW. Not saying that it can't work, I just don't see them as a fit in AEW. Now, if you are asking why, well, what about Eva Marie? What wrestling promotion you know is going to hire Eva Marie? All right, next person. Now, this next one had a whole lot of people upset. Keith freaking Lee. I still can't believe I just said that Keith Lee just got released from his daggone WWE contract. And here's the sucky part about Keith Lee. Within a short period of time, you had this man square up with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Arguably, two of your biggest names on your current roster to date. And we had the holy crap moments, so to speak. And now he gets released. All because simply Vince McMahon chose not to book him right. And that's what it honestly comes down to. Keith Lee is a guy that you can build a company around. He is a guy that you can literally build a company off his back. His promo skills are nice. He has a very, very unique style to work in the mic. A very elegant, smooth, cunning, almost in the way of a parable or a riddle with his delivery. Ring work, we all know what Keith Lee can do in the ring, okay? For his size, agile, quick. He is a perfect mixture of power and finesse and agility, okay? What more can you ask for? And incredibly over with the crowd. What more can you ask for the perfect WWE superstar? Like, seriously, I'll wait. I can't wait too long. I gotta get back to this show. But that's a dropped opportunity. I know Tony Khan just made a statement to the media the other day saying that there are always maybe one or two or possibly three guys or gals that he is interested in every time WWE does this big release party. I really hope that Keith Lee is one of those people that he is interested in. A lot of people may say that, well, AEW roster is already stacked. And to an extent, it is. Hopefully with them continuing Dark, continuing Elevation, Rampage, hopefully, they can continue to find ways to work in all of the stars. And the good thing about having roster depth is that you can actually, if you utilize it properly, you prevent burnout. Another good thing about having roster depth is with proper build, you also put together a must-see list of big matches. But you cannot do hot shot booking. And Tony Khan has came out and mentioned this before also. For those who don't know what hot shot booking is, it's pretty much the act of, how can I put this? Good example of hot shot booking would be if we rewind the clock back to the WCW invasion of WWE, which is still the absolute biggest missed opportunity for a storyline ever by Vince McMahon. But if we roll it back to that clock and say Sting came over then, right? And then Sting comes over, and then next thing you know, on Monday Night Raw, we got Sting versus The Undertaker. No build up, no advertising, no nothing. Hot shot booking. So that's one of the things that Tony Khan has came out and said that he is not going to do. And I really hope that he stays true to that, because AEW has some very good potential build-ups and matches. And as we continue to go on this journey with Unscripted Wrestling Media, I'll be sure to bring all the good information to you, my analysis and insights. But Keith Lee is a big opportunity that was missed, along with his fiancee, Mia Yim. Another big opportunity. And with Mia Yim, it's even worse because the women's roster in WWE is already struggling bad. I think one of the things that I noticed with their women's roster, and this came from watching the November 8th episode of Monday Night Raw. The women's roster in WWE right now is currently split in two different places. You have half of the roster that is actually a women's wrestling roster. I'm about to get killed for this. I'm about to get killed in the comment section. I already know. And the other half of their roster is Divas Wrestling. Okay? If you do not believe me, really start paying attention to the females that are on the WWE women's roster right now. For more proof of that, let's take a brief examination. I know we're talking about the releases, but let's just take a brief examination of the Fatal 5-Way match that happened on WWE Monday Night Raw on November 8th, 2021. You had Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Queen Zelina, and Carmella. Out of these 5 women, the only 2 women's wrestlers, or the 2 athletes in the match, and to me that's what I define as women's wrestling, athletes. The only 2 were Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. And before everybody wants to get up in a bunch and get all uptight on me, in a sport like professional wrestling, you have athletes and you have people who are athletic. And there is a stark difference between the two, okay? A person who is athletic is a person that is in slightly good physical shape, get cardio, weight training, they're athletic, okay? They can participate in almost any sport of their choosing, as long as it's not one of those real specialty sports, in my opinion, like skiing. That's, to me, that's a specialty sport, because you really have to know how to ski so you don't hit a tree or break your leg or do something crazy like that. But professional wrestling, so when I say people who are athletic, Carmella, she's athletic, okay? Queen Zelina, she's athletic. Liv Morgan, she's athletic. But when I think about an athlete, I think about Bianca Belair. I think about Rhea Ripley. I think about Sasha Banks. Some people may not agree with her based off my current analysis. That's fine. Again, this is subjective, okay? But I think about Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, Natalya, Charlotte Flair. These women are athletes, okay? And the problem that WWE is doing is they're building their women's division around them. They're in this weird place where I feel like they don't know what they want to do. Like, they don't know which way they want to go. And the match on Monday Night Raw was even more evident of that. If you really go back and look at it, you can tell that Bianca and Rhea were just blatantly, I'm not going to say they were uncomfortable, but a match like that for 2 athletes is hard, okay? Because they're in this weird place where they have to do the work, but then get those in the match over as well. So that it's just weird. I could go into more detail, but I'm not. So I'm just going to get back to this. But with Mia Yim is athletic. She's a hybrid between an athlete and athletic. I don't think she was all the way there with her in-ring work, although it was very good for the most part. Not excellent, but it wasn't like far away from being excellent, in my opinion. And she got released. Again, another example of Vince McMahon doing Vince things. There's no reason behind that. Your women's roster sucks. Your women's tag team division sucks. But yet you keep releasing good female talent that you can actually build and utilize and bring back a level of, what's the word that I'm looking for here? Legitimacy. Yeah, that word. But already did that. Nia freaking Jax. A lot of people got mixed feelings about this one. Okay, absolute lot of people got mixed feelings about this one, and rightfully so. I've been engaging all over the internet about Nia Jax, and there's a lot of mixed feelings. You have some people saying she should have been let go a long time ago. Some people are in shock. Personally, I think this may be the first person that's a part of the Royal Samoan dynasty to be released from a WWE contract. Like, seriously. With Nia, it's a little bit of controversy surrounding her release. And that controversy comes out as, I believe it was Fightful Select that reported that apparently within this recent batch of releases, and the only reason why I'm saying this is because this information has already been made public knowledge. Apparently within this recent batch of releases, there were at least five people who were openly unvaccinated, with Nia Jax reportedly being one of them. Now, let me get this out the way. This is not an attempt to spread misinformation about the COVID-19 vaccine. I am not a medical professional. If you have any questions about the COVID-19 vaccine, you should consult your doctor. That is my disclaimer for the YouTube algorithm. What culture wrestling? What cultural wrestling, right? I like that channel. Popular, well-established channel on YouTube. Hopefully one day I can get to a level of success. Simon Miller particularly is my favorite. The ups and downs, and here's why. But they have 3 guys on What Cultural Wrestling, if I'm not mistaken, and yeah. So let's matter of fact, let's do this.
Final thing we should talk about, our final story, is intriguing and may slightly undercut everything I've just ranted about here, because if this is true, to a certain extent, I kind of support WWE, because there's a report coming out from, again, the New York Post, Ryan Glassspiegel, who says a source within knowledge of WWE, of their operations, seems to suggest that perhaps one of the reasons some of these wrestlers have been released, and we're not going to name specific names.
Well, he names Nia Jax specifically.
Well, he names Nia Jax specifically. I was going to say, we're not going to name any others speculating-wise, but Nia Jax particularly, and perhaps some of the other wrestlers that have been released, due to the fact, and Fightful Select repeated this as well, that at least 5 of them were openly unvaccinated. And like I said, if that's the case, you know what? I'm on WWE's side all of a sudden, because if you're in this company at this stage, surrounded by people not getting vaccinated, and I'll probably get pelters for this, Andy. You know what? I don't care, because vaccinations are something that we need to do. It's not some global goddamn conspiracy.
There's no microchips.
They're not sending 5G into it. Like, my phone still is running on 4G and dodgy internet when I'm dodgy
vaccinated thrice.
Yes. It's not even just because, oh, well, I don't want to get vaccinated, I'm all right, Jack. This is about protecting the people around you, the elderly, the people with illnesses that will make them more vulnerable to this illness. If you're sat there, you're in a company that tours, that interacts, that literally grapples and breathes on other people on a daily basis, just get vaccinated. What? You've not had this issue previously. All of a sudden, you can't just turn around and say, oh, I'm not getting vaccinated. And this isn't some sort of beginning of this, I don't know, socialist agenda or something. It's just common sense, Andy.
Looking after other people, that's the thing. It's not a personal choice. If your personal choice can negatively impact other people, that's, the most overblown aspect of all of this. I would say the WWE perspective on the unvaccinated thing is going to be this. You have opted not to have the COVID-19 vaccine. That means you cannot work in this building and this state where they have said you need to be vaccinated to go. You cannot travel here, you cannot travel there. That means as a company there is only so many things that we can do with you. See you later. That's probably their stance on all of this, right? That's probably where they're coming from it. There you go. Obviously the New York Post have named Nia Jax here from one of their sources. Fightful coming through saying there are around 5 people, perhaps more. Wasn't the sole reason for these people's releases by all accounts. No. It's not exclusive to that, but it's part of it. Man, this has been a rubbish morning, hasn't it?
33 years of age. I think I'm in a relatively healthy position. It can still, kill people like me, but I'd probably be all right if I got COVID. But guess what? I was first in line to get that vaccine because I don't want my mom, my dad, my relatives, friends of mine who are vulnerable because of their illnesses, getting this illness and dying because of it. And you know what? They don't have mask mandates. I don't want to get into all that or whatever here in the UK. But guess what? When I go in a shop, when I go in a confined space, I still put on a mask, despite the fact that I wear glasses. I should be first in line when I'm wearing a mask because it makes them steam up. Because it's just sensible, it's just common sense, and it's good for your fellow man or woman, I suppose. I don't know if that covers. But, it's just the sensible thing to do. And yeah, if some of these people have been released because they are, taking a stand and being unvaccinated, to a certain extent, I actually back WWE on that. Other than that, though, this is atrocious. And
it is, it's bad.
We should move on because we need to get to our Twitter questions today.
All right. You heard that. You saw that. I'm about to this portion for me is about to get a little fun. So let me start by saying this. If we had just stuck with the latter part of that video analysis about you're not vaccinated, you can't go here in the company, you can't go to this arena, you can't go to this state. Okay, fine. No one can argue that, okay? That's completely fine. But the first half of that little soliloquy, first off, you little skinny, pencil neck dip. Let me just say this, okay? You're in the UK. That's fine. You can make your wrestling videos. You can comment. I actually like a lot of the content that you put out. But here's why I got to draw the line at. If you're in the UK, shut the about what's going on here in America as far as policies go. All right? This is supposed to be about wrestling. You brought this vaccine topic up. I'm going to address it and respond to it. Okay? Now, I don't know what y'all got going on in the UK. I don't care what you have going on in the UK. As far as your vaccine policies, your mask mandates, your COVID regulations, that does not bother me. I do not care, okay? Because at the end of the day, it does not affect me. However, here in the US, we have quite a pickle of a situation with our sitting president and administration, who prior to being inaugurated said that he would not make vaccines mandatory.
While Mr. Biden said he would be willing to get a vaccine, he would not require it for all Americans.
I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory, but I would do everything in my power, just like I don't think.
Well, let's fast forward roughly about 30 days ago or so. We now have a vaccine mandate in place for federal government employees and businesses with 100 or more employees. And currently in America, a small business is classified as a business with at least 500 employees. Okay, so you have a lot of mom and pop businesses that may fall in that 100 employee category that are going to be affected by this. There have been multiple reports that have shown that as many as 80 million people are going to be affected by this.
Americans to get vaccinated.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us. This is not about freedom or personal choice. It's about protecting yourself and those around you.
The president is ordering nearly all federal workers and employees of contractors that do business with the federal government get vaccinated within 75 days, eliminating their option to be tested instead of getting shots. Employees who refuse could be punished, even fired.
If you want to work with the federal government and do business with us, get vaccinated.
While initially reluctant to issue mandates, the president's aggressive new plan requires vaccinations for 17 million healthcare workers at hospitals and other sites that receive Medicare or Medicaid funding. President Biden's now pressuring private companies too, directing the Labor Department to require businesses with 100 or more employees ensure their workers are fully vaccinated or provide a negative test each week, a move the White House estimates will impact 80 million Americans. Companies that do not comply could face fines. The White House anticipating lawsuits.
We're going to protect.
And as a result, we are seeing all types of impact in our job markets. Okay. Now, I should have said this from the get-go. I'm vaccinated. Okay. Whether you're vaccinated, not vaccinated, I don't care. I'm vaccinated, whatever. You want to get the vaccine, get it. If not, that's your choice. And that's the whole thing with what we're doing here in America. Okay. Little UK boy. We have this thing called freedom of choice. Okay, and before you get the popping off at the mouth, too late, you already did that. While you was popping off at the mouth talking about right-wing conspiracy, blah, 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 the reason why there are a lot of people here in America that feel like this whole vaccine mandate is a right-wing conspiracy is simply because there are multiple clips, if YouTube hasn't pulled them, of many people on the left side of the political aisle stating how they did not trust the vaccine, how they would not take the vaccine under the leadership of the prior presidential administration. However, once that leadership changed hands to our current presidential administration, that switched. Why? Same science, same vaccine, but the main people who are telling us to go get the vaccine now were the main people that was telling us they didn't trust the vaccine then, including our Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, who during the vice presidential debate publicly said that she would not take a vaccine under Donald Trump.
Absolutely, but if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
So here's why we have such distrust in the vaccines. So maybe you should actually know what you're talking about before you run out your mouth with what you're talking about, okay? Furthermore, there have been numerous studies that have shown that even the COVID vaccine does not prevent you from contracting nor transmitting the COVID-19 virus. They're called breakthrough cases when you're vaccinated, fully vaccinated, and still contract COVID. Okay, so I'm glad that you get the vaccine for your mom, your grandmom. I'm glad. I'm happy. Okay, but newsflash, you can technically still contract it and pass it to them. They can contract it and pass it to you, according to the science that has came out about the vaccine. So if we're gonna trust the science, we have to go with the science. Okay, if Nia Jax was fired or released from her WWE contract, along with those 4 other people that were released from their WWE contract, I think it's dead wrong. I said what I said, and here is why. Because if you're in the States and you're watching this video, then you already know, depending on what channel or what news source you watch, but this vaccine mandate has came down hard, okay, on our economy and workforce, okay? The same people that we were rallying behind last year, our essential workers, our nurses, EMTs, police officers, firefighters, right? The ones that was going on the front lines dealing with this whole COVID thing, dealing with people who were sick before there was a vaccine, when there was the PPE shortage. These same people that we were rallying last year, we are now demonizing and firing because they're not getting a vaccine. It's a little bit of a slap in the face, don't you think? Our military forces who keep us safe abroad, they're getting discharged dishonorably or other than honorably for not getting a vaccine. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I'm still plugged into the military, so this much I know. So for Nia Jax to get fired along with 4 other superstars for not getting a vaccine, it's a little bit bogus. And furthermore, now this brings up the question of what Andrew Yang was saying. Should WWE be looked at as an actual company that has employees in lieu of independent contractors? Because if you are releasing superstars, of course it would take an investigation to probably find out the real reason why, because they use this umbrella terminology, Johnny Laurinaitis, budget cuts. But if Nia Jax was released for not getting vaccinated, along with the other 4 superstars, and if this was done under the guise of them being employees, now you got a little bit of a sticky situation on your hands from a legal perspective, okay? Because WWE classifies all of their talent as independent contractors, right? Their talent is responsible for their own attire, their own travel, their own lodging, unless it's like for the international trips like the UK tour that just happened, the Saudi Arabia shows. Their talent is even responsible for their own medical expenses unless it is a major injury that's sustained in the ring. This is evident with what Keith Lee just came out on Twitter and said a couple of days ago about him paying for all of his own medical expenses when he contracted COVID and was suffering from heart inflammation, okay? WWE didn't pay for that. He did, because WWE talent does not get health insurance because they're independent contractors. So, was Nia Jax and the other 4 let go for not being vaccinated as part of this employee mandate laid out by our presidential administration? Or was it really budget cuts? Sticky situation there, WWE. Very sticky situation that you got yourself in. Will we ever know the truth? Probably not. Probably not. But I had to get that off my chest, okay? I had to, because don't comment on what's going on in America if you're not here in America. That's how I feel. I said what I said. Now, back to the freaking content that got me riled up. Now, let's move on to the releases from SmackDown. I've already talked about Mia Yim, B-Fab. Not surprised. I'm sorry. I got my brother. He loves Hit Row. When Hit Row got drafted to SmackDown, he daggone hit me up ASAP in the inbox on the text message with the Hit Row theme song. He loves Hit Row. I had a conversation with him following that, saying that if they ever split, Hit Row, B-Fab would be released. And unfortunately, at least from WWE, I don't think there's enough tape on her to see whether or not she will end up getting signed to another promotion. Probably independent shows like GCW. That's it. Impact may take a chance. That's it. Going back to Nia Jax real quick with Nia, I think she definitely has to clean up some of her in-ring work. I think she has a little bit, according to the last couple of matches that I saw from her. I'm not even going to count that situation with Charlotte Flair. That's a whole nother topic in and of itself. But Nia, if she can really clean up the in-ring work as far as taking care of her opponents better in the ring, Nia is in my opinion, she's an asset to just about any roster that you want to have her on. I think for diehard fans of Nia Jax, and even I've mentioned this, let us get Nia Jax and Nyla Rose. I want to see it. I think it'll be good. I have other reasons why that I'm not going to divulge on this video. I think I've already done enough if I don't get any kind of strike against me about this vaccine rant I just went on. But again, this is why the channel is called Unscripted Wrestling Media. This is why the podcast is called the Unscripted Runsheet, because there's no scripts here. And I really don't give a about what anybody got to say. Period. Because I said what I said. Facts. Let's keep it going. Ember Moon. I love Ember Moon, okay? I love Ember Moon. Another missed opportunity. I think one of the things that did not work in Ember Moon's favor was her getting injured. That Achilles injury kept her out for well over a year. She came back, had a little bit of ring rust that she quickly got off with some CLR, some Coca-Cola, baking soda, and vinegar. I don't know what she did, but she got rid of that ring rust relatively quick as she got back in the flow of things. And again, former NXT Women's Champion. I really think she should have had a title run on the main roster when she was there. She was underutilized. And I think with Ember Moon, it was just a case of them not knowing what to do with her. Athlete, okay? The Eclipse, I love that move. One of the interesting things about her doing the Eclipse is that, if I'm not mistaken, she's never injured an opponent doing the Eclipse. I think it may have been one. Possibly one. But other than that Ember Moon is going to be an asset to whatever women's roster she goes to. Of course, a lot of people say that the AEW women's roster is struggling. I don't think it's more of an issue of struggling. I think it's more of an issue of booking with the AEW women's roster. They have some fairly good wrestlers in that women's division when it comes down to in-ring work. They do. Maybe just a few that may need to tone up a little bit of things in regards to their timing and selling. The Bunny would be one of them that I could think of off the top of my head. Penelope Ford is pretty good. Of course, Britt Baker, she's good. Ruby Soho. A lot of people may kill me on this. I do not care. She is good, but she can be better. Period. But Ember Moon, I could see Ember Moon in AEW. I would love for Ember Moon to go to AEW. I personally feel like she is more of a big fish, too much of a big fish to go to Impact Wrestling. But again, especially with AEW ending their recent partnership with Impact Wrestling, I think somebody like Ember Moon, even somebody like Keith Lee or Karrion Kross, if Impact Wrestling was to grab these three competitors, it could really help reestablish their brand, especially from a financial standpoint. Because Keith Lee, Karrion Kross, Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt, Ember Moon, these are people who are going to sell tickets, okay? These are people who are going to sell tickets. They're going to bring in revenue. They're going to sell merchandise, okay? These profits can be reinvested back into the company. Maybe look at getting a better venue. Maybe look at getting a better TV distribution deal for a more prime spot on a more easily accessible channel. Because I know I have DirecTV, for example, and I do have, I think it's Axios or Axis. I have that channel. However, I have that channel because of the package that I have. If I didn't have the channel package that I have, I wouldn't have that channel. So, using that same level of thought, how many households in America don't have access to Access TV? See what I'm saying? Those are eyes that you're losing. As a professional wrestling fan, I'm not a company loyalist. I'm not. I like professional wrestling, okay? I've loved it since the mid to late 90s, and I will continue to love it until the day I take my last breath. As a professional wrestling fan, I want to see as many promotions prosper as possible. Even with Ring of Honor and all of the news surrounding them, I've only watched a few episodes of Ring of Honor. But still, it sucks. There's no way around it. It really sucks because at the end of the day, with every promotion that goes under, that's less variety that we have. There's less opportunities that we have to learn new faces, new stars. But Ember Moon to Impact, I wouldn't be crazy about it, but I'll still be happy. All right, Frankie Monet, aka I can't think of her name. I think Taya Valkyrie. Frankie Monet, I have mixed feelings about. I do. Because she's in this weird place where she's in between good and great, but not really either. I don't know what to really say, but that's where she's at. It's like good or great, but not really either. But she's an attraction. I think the thing with Frankie Monet is that you have to match her in ring with somebody that's close to her level as far as her in-ring abilities and athleticism. We know that she can cut a promo. We know that she can sell a gimmick. Whatever gimmick you give her, she's going to sell it, okay? And honestly, I would rather her had been released from her WWE contract now compared to going to the main roster and getting lost in a shuffle. Now, I know she has a homegirl on Twitter that was furious, and understandably so. If I moved all the way from the West Coast to the East Coast for you just to fire me, oh, I'd be pissed off too. I really would. Like, you could have saved me that drama, but that's like B-Fab. B-Fab just signed a main roster contract a week prior to her release. WWE does these things and it makes no sense. It makes zero sense at all. You repackage Keith Lee, release him. You repackage Karrion Kross. I'm not even going to talk about that helmet. But you repackage Karrion Kross and release him. Why? You sign B-Fab to a contract for the main roster and release her. Why? It's mind-boggling. Like, how did you all come up with these releases? How do they come up with these releases? Do they just like write some names down and put them in a hat, shake it up, and then pick it out? What are they doing? Are they doing like they used to do back in the day for the Royal Rumble with the lottery, like putting people's names on the ball, roll a little basket, and then reach in and pick one? Like, oh, you're getting fired today. Like, what are they doing with these releases? Because us fans would like to know. And even more, your loyal WWE fans, they would love to know. They really would. Because it almost makes you wonder, why should I even get invested in the next superstar? For what cause? Why? Why am I gonna go and buy your merchandise? Why? Especially since, now I've heard rumors of this. I think we all have. But there have been multiple rumors saying that some WWE superstars don't even get all of the royalties from their merchandise sales. Is that true? Don't know. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe true, maybe not. But why? Because I understand from one aspect, we the fans help get the superstars over, okay? But from another aspect, where we get emotionally invested in a superstar or a wrestler and their growth, it sucks when they get released, man. It sucks when they're out of action for any period of time. We saw this with Bray Wyatt. It's still fans to this day that are upset that Bray Wyatt got released. I'm one of them. I love the Fiend. Especially at a time where you had The Undertaker, who had finally stepped aside and retired. We're not even going to get into the point that there was a missed opportunity with The Undertaker and The Fiend for a potential matchup. I'm not going to talk about that. However, if you go to Unscripted Wrestling Media, unscriptedwrestling.media, there is an episode that I did with my old podcast, the Wrestle Geek Podcast, where I talked all about The Fiend following his loss to Randy Orton. So it's worth a listen. Go and check it out. The quality is not as good as what this podcast will be going forward. It's a learning curve when you out here creating content, okay? And even for me, this quality is okay, but I'm going to get it better as I go along. But yeah, The Fiend, you release him. Why? You know, it's just, it makes it hard to really get invested in the product that WWE is still putting out when they do things like this. And then we're wondering why, no, they're probably wondering why they're having such a decline in their ratings. Now, I know the ratings can really not be all inclusive or reflective of the overall dynamic of professional wrestling, especially WWE, because with that third quarter earnings report, we saw that they made over $300 million. And then you release 18 people like hours later. That's besides the point. But obviously, the ratings are not indicative to the earnings, okay? So with ratings are things like the DVR playbacks being taken into consideration. I think the first 24 hours of DVR playbacks are taken into consideration. But somebody like me, for example, I oftentimes will let shows pile up, including wrestling, on my DVR, and then I will go and I will binge watch it. It's not uncommon for me, like with AEW, for example, it's not uncommon for me to sit and watch like 3 weeks of AEW Dynamite in one day. It's not uncommon. So are those playbacks being accounted into the wrestling? Are streaming plays being accounted into ratings? Because a lot of people have cut the cord. You have a lot of people using alternative sources to watch television that includes streaming via the internet. Hulu Plus TV, YouTube TV, DirecTV has a stream app, Spectrum has a stream app. Okay, so are these numbers being taken into consideration with their ratings? We often hear the rumors about ticket sales this, ticket sales that, and yeah, they may have had some low ticket sales for some shows, but apparently ticket sales did make up a fairly decent size of their revenue. I think the main portion of their revenue came in from the TV rights deals, right? Now, those TV rights deals wouldn't be as lucrative as they are if WWE was not delivering what they needed to deliver to their television partners. So they're doing something right on the business aspect of it. We as fans are only seeing what the final product aspect, but behind the scenes, WWE is doing something right. They have to be. If not, they wouldn't be making $305 million. They actually made over what they anticipated to make in their third quarter. So, still want to understand why some of these guys are getting released. Like I said, opening up the show, we getting rematch after rematch, and then you guys are releasing talent that you can be building around. You got 5 hours of television through the week, not including NXT. That makes 7. You got 7 hours of television through the week. But yet we're still getting the same variation of multiple matches, or the same variation of rematches. Or, we're getting different variations of the same matches that are rematches still. But you guys, or WWE, I don't know why I keep saying you guys as if somebody from WWE creative department or a WWE executive is going to watch this video. Because apparently they don't know anything about what we're seeing here on the internet as fans. That's obvious. But it's mind-boggling. WWE is completely mind-boggling how they continue to release all these superstars. And again, the great thing is we have companies now like AEW that provides I don't want to say an alternative, but it gives talent an opportunity to find gainful employment in the industry in the States without having to transition them or their families to another country. Okay, especially right now with this pandemic. Okay, next we got Katrina Cortez. She was signed to a developmental deal. From my research, didn't work out. Katrina Cortez, Jessie Kamea, Jeet Rima is like 40 years old. Another guy that was signed to a developmental deal. He was thought to be, or he was considered to probably be a good building block for the NXT India brand that they were trying to build, or they were thinking about building. However, it didn't work out. Trey Baxter, developmental deal. Seda Ramir, developmental deal. All these guys that I just named that want developmental deals, these are the guys that it really sucks for, okay? And I say that because there's not enough legitimate tape on them, perhaps, for them to submit to get a look from somewhere else. I'm not saying that they won't get a look, but what I'm saying is it's probably going to be a little bit tougher, okay? Think of it as the equivalent of, I hate to say this because I hate Bama. I'm a Mississippi State fan. But think of it as being the equivalent to being a high school football player, right? You only played maybe your freshman year and half of your sophomore year for whatever reason. And then you graduated high school a year and a half later. But during that time you played, you didn't really make an impressive tape collection because you didn't even finish playing during your high school career. So you go to Alabama and you try to be a walk-on on the team, and the thing they say is, okay, where's your tape? You don't have tape. So now you have to take a chance, and a team like Alabama, for example, you have hundreds of guys striving to get an opportunity to get on the team because being a starter on the Alabama team almost guarantees that you're going to the NFL, okay? So if you don't have enough legitimate tape, and you could be very good, you could be talented, you could have the skills to be a starter on Alabama, but you don't have the tape to make it easier. You're going to have to fight harder to get a look. It's the same thing with these guys on these developmental deals. If you don't have enough tape accumulated, you're going to have to fight a little bit harder to get a look. It's not impossible. You just have to be persistent. Owie Lorcan was a guy that I really fell in love with in NXT as far as watching him wrestle. Gritty, in your face, stiff. Not stiff like bad stiff, but stiff like adds that layer of believability to it. Physical, rough guy. Not the best promo cut in the world, but he's not there to cut promos. He's there to wrestle, okay? Like we used to say down in the South. He's there for some good old wrestling. That's Owie Lorcan, all right? And it sucks that he got released. He's not gonna have a hard time at all finding work. Between Impact and AEW, I think he would be a better fit in Impact Wrestling. Just because of the style of wrestler he is and the current vibe of Impact, he feels like more of an Impact type of guy. But yeah, I'm not surprised by his release, and the reason why I say that is this, because even when I first started watching Owie Lorcan a couple years ago, I looked at him and I was like, he's not gonna fit on the main roster. It's nowhere for him. One of the closest people that I can compare him to on the main roster right now would be Cesaro. And we see what's going on with Cesaro. And Cesaro is like Owie Lorcan 5.0. And this is no disrespect to Owie Lorcan at all. But when I'm talking about a wrestler that is a complete put together package, okay? Cesaro. Promo is a little iffy at times, but I will only say about maybe 6% of the time he kind of struggles with his promos, not as far as remembering what to say, but putting the enthusiasm and passion that makes it believable behind the lines. Ring work, nobody's going to question Cesaro's ring work. If you do, you're smoking crack. I said what I said. Only thing I don't like about Cesaro is these big baggy suits that he be wearing for segments. I'm like, bro, where you get that suit from, man? Like, I know y'all got to pay for your own gear, but my guy, like, can you at least go to JCPenney's and get a suit? Like, what? Come on, bro. Why you wearing that? The suits that you used to rip out of when you came to the ring look better than that suit. Like, come on, man. Go take that off. Put that up somewhere. Don't wear that again. Scarlett, that was one who I did not get to when I was talking about Karrion Kross. This goes back to WWE failing Karrion Kross again. And y'all know y'all tired of me telling about Vince McMahon, but I'm sorry. When you think about these releases, you have to blame Vince McMahon. Not Nick Khan, but Vince McMahon. And the reason why Vince McMahon, because these releases come down to, straight up in my opinion, they go to the lack of creativity that WWE has as a company, okay? You have all this talent here that I've been harping on for over an hour now, and yet you have an entire creative staff, entire team, writers and producers and all these people, and y'all can't think of no decent ideas for all these people I just named? And here's the even crazy part, right? For guys like Keith Lee, guys like Karrion Kross, people like Ember Moon, Scarlett, you don't even have to think of anything creative for them. Vince, Bruce Pritchard, you don't got to think of them creative for them. You use what they were using in NXT. Duh. Is that hard? Let's look at Dominik Dijakovic real quick, right? Complete killer in NXT. Now you got him on freaking Monday Night Raw wrestling this T-bar with this stupid gimmick. He's not even being... Because I know the matches have producers, right? The matches that I've seen from T-bar on the main roster, he's not even using... I'm going to actually say 1/4 of his actual moveset that we saw in NXT. He's not. Underutilized. And it would be a shame if he is mentioned as in this next rumored batch of releases, because if you don't know, you're about to find out that apparently word around catering, this is what I'm probably going to start calling that, word around catering is that it's about 10 more superstars that are possibly expected to get released, with the majority, I believe, coming from NXT as part of this whole NXT 2.0 rebranding, which I'm probably going to do another show about that all in and of itself. All right. But Scarlett, Karrion Kross, the gimmick worked at NXT. They were over. But once again, you a good superstar, okay? Because you bring Karrion Kross up to Monday Night Raw, no Scarlett, no smoke, no mirrors. And people are probably going to say, well, why does he need that? Because when you're talking about superstars, you're talking about professional wrestlers, you're talking about a suspended belief in reality, right? So hear me out. Part of that suspended belief is how the wrestler is presented, okay? So in NXT, the whole big thing with Karrion Kross was how he was presented. The entrance, the music, the lighting, Scarlett, all of that played a part into his character. Think about it like this. Would you want to see The Undertaker without all the smoke and mirrors behind his character? Probably not. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't be believable. The smoke and mirrors add to the character, and they add layers to the character. So when you strip away those layers from a character, you actually strip away their ability to get over with the audience. This is what they did to Karrion Kross with Scarlett. In a nutshell, you have him come up to the main roster, no Scarlett, not the interest that we're used to, and then, oh my God, above all, you have him drop a match while he's still the NXT champion to Jeff Hardy. made 0 sense at all. Completely mind-blowing. So apparently Scarlett got OnlyFans. That's what I heard. I didn't really look too much into that. I wouldn't be surprised. She's gonna make money off of it if she does. But apparently there were plans to. Vince wanted Scarlett to go to SmackDown as a competitor, right? I've never seen Scarlett wrestle in the ring. I haven't even looked to see if she has any tape wrestling, okay? I feel like Scarlett is probably a good manager, right? So here's the argument with Scarlett and Karrion Kross. Get into it real quick. So one of the main reasons, how I'm gonna put this? I'm gonna play advocate for a second. On one hand, I can see why Vince broke Scarlett and Karrion Kross up on screen on the main roster, okay? And we're gonna go back to history. Wrestling History 101 with Mr. Ramon. Some of you, depending on your age, you may or may not remember a certain wrestler by the name of Mark Merrow, okay? And if you remember Mark Merrow, I think he was a boxer. He had a boxing background, came over to being a professional wrestler for what at the time was the WWF, okay? Vince liked Mark Merrow, right? There was plans to strap a rocket on his back and shoot him to the moon, okay? At the time, Mark Merrow was involved in real life with a young lady by the name of Sable, all right? So, of course, there was some inner workings and blah, blah, blah. We're going to skip past all that crap. Now, somehow, Sable ends up getting on screen with Mark Merrow as his manager. Well, when this happened, and this was, again, Attitude Era, when I'm not even going to call that women's wrestling back then. I'm just going to call that. I don't even have a word for that. I don't. It was just WWE using women to attract their primary demographic of young males in the 18 to 40 range. We'll just put it like that. So, Sable gets on TV with Mark Merrow. Prior to Sable getting on TV with Mark Merrow, WWE had done a good job of really getting Mark Merrow over. Sable now gets on TV with him, and fans get more interested in Sable than they do Mark Merrow, which is the complete opposite of what Vince McMahon wanted. This is what led to ultimately them getting split up. Mark Merrow's career in the WWF essentially went south. Sable's took off. All right. So now let's fast forward all the way back to 2021. Here we are with Karrion Kross and Scarlett. Vince did not want a repeat of this happening, in my humble opinion. Here is the logic behind him splitting them up. Now, on the flip side, if you're going to do this, then the least you can do is make sure that you still keep Karrion Kross as close to the Karrion Kross that fans have become accustomed to in NXT as possible, okay? If you're going to take Scarlett, you let him keep the entrance. You let him keep the smoke and mirrors. And above all, first and foremost, you do not freaking book him to lose to Jeff Hardy on his debut after you still have the NXT championship around his freaking waist. Because what you did there, for anybody who didn't know, this is just my opinion on that. When Karrion Kross lost that match to Jeff Hardy, when he came out with the NXT championship, this is when we should have saw the death of NXT coming. Period. Because that was honestly a slap in the face to Triple H and to the NXT brand as a whole. Because of that loss to Jeff Hardy, when Karrion Kross did have the ceremonial final bout in NXT to drop the championship to Samoa Joe, the only thing that made that match even interesting was the little seeds that Samoa Joe and Karrion Kross have been planting when Samoa Joe came back to WWE or to NXT. If it had not been for that pre-build with those two, I wouldn't have really cared about Samoa Joe and Karrion Kross, because Karrion Kross lost to Jeff Hardy. Then you had Karrion Kross choke out Keith Lee as if that's supposed to be some type of redemption, and there was nowhere near the level of match that Karrion Kross and Keith Lee had previously in NXT. Nowhere near it. But yeah. So those are the 18 releases that we just talked about. Hour 15 minutes. Felt like I had a lot of good, interesting takes. But ultimately, you guys let me know down in that comment section below. If you listen to this podcast, the audio form, you make sure you go ahead, slide your boy a review. Make sure you check out unscriptedwrestling.media. All of my links are there to my social media accounts. Make sure you follow me. Also on the website, if you want to leave me a voicemail, you actually can. Yeah, that's an option on the side of the page. I believe it's on the right-hand side. Leave a voicemail. Leave me a voicemail. Let me know what you think. You got a question you want me to answer about anything? Let me know. I'll put it in the next show. I also have an email list you can sign up for. Blog is coming soon. My first blog post is probably going to be my thoughts about the 24/7 championship, okay? My blog is really going to be me giving thoughts and analysis on things that are worth being analyzed, but at the same time, it's not really worth doing like an entire show on or a video. But anyway, once again, I'm your boy Stephen Ramon, and for the last hour and 16 minutes, we have been completely unscripted. So until then, stay uncut, stay unbiased, stay unscripted.